Good afternoon, family. I hope everybody had a great evening yesterday. Today is February 8th, 2022. If you're new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this video journal as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of reaching 220 pounds. If you enjoy this video or want to follow along with how I do, make sure that you do get subscribed to the channel. Also, make sure that you click on that bell icon so that you'll get notified when I go live or I post new videos. If you'd like to participate in on the discussion, you can join me live most weekdays around 4 p.m. Also, outside of my live streams, if you want, you can join our Discord. There's a link for that down in the description below. That's a great place for you guys to kind of share your progress and what your goals are and how things are going for you. Uh, as well as the Discord, there is a link in the description for a Pinterest board that we have created that has a bunch of the meals that we enjoy on our whole food plant-based diet, so that if you are interested or you're looking for some ideas, that's a great resource for those things. Today is day 465 of my 3-year challenge to lose 300 pounds. I've been using a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food plant based, salt, oil, sugar free diet to lose almost 200 pounds at this point. I'm like 16 months in of my 3-year challenge, so I have about 20 months to go, and I am pretty happy with how things have gone so far. If anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear your guys' non-scale victories. Any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'd love to know how you guys are doing on your weight loss progress as well. Switch over here to the main screen, on to the main stage. Um, yeah, like I said, I hope everybody had a good evening. We had a busy evening. We ended up having to go to an event for our kid is in choir, so we went to an event for that. And it was I've been to so the event was actually at my old high school, and I've been there a few times. I think I was there uh 3 or 4 months ago now, was the last time I was at the high school, but I don't go to the high school a ton because my kids are still in elementary school. But this event was an all school event, so we were at the high school, and it was nice to go back into the high school. I was excited to be going into the high school and not be 520 pounds going into the high school. And in fact, you get nervous, or I have always gotten nervous about who I was going to run to it when I go to these events, and what they're going to think and things like that. But it's funny because I'm going to my old high school for an event for my kid, and I ended up running into a guy that I used to go to college with, uh, which is funny. And I know that he's been in the area um, because he's actually I've done business with him in the past few years, but I haven't seen him much. So I saw him a lot when I was in college or early on in college because I jumped around to a few different colleges. But the first college I went to, we played football together. And so that's where I know him from. And I was probably the same weight I am now, and then getting heavier. Like, I went from high school, I was about 300 pounds when I graduated high school, probably 320 pounds when I went into my freshman year of college. That's when this guy kind of knew me, or we hung out a decent bit because we were in the same dorm building. We played football together, just had a lot of similarities. So we hung out a lot. Fast forward 15 years, or about 15 years, I see him again and kind of realize that he's living in the same community. I believe he has a son or daughter. He has a child that's similar in age to my kid. That's why he was at that event last night. So it was interesting running into him. Um, and he's in between when I knew him in college, and now he saw me a couple times last, like during the pandemic, but we weren't like everybody was social distancing. So like we saw each other, but it wasn't like we had conversations. So he did see me at my heaviest, but um and so it's nice to kind of reset the image that he has in his head of me because uh I've always been overweight, and so it's not surprising that he would think of me as being somebody overweight. But when I saw him during the pandemic, I was at my highest 500 plus pounds. So then, in my head I'm thinking he's thinking, wow, he really let himself go. And so now seeing him last night, he says, oh, he's got himself back together, right? And hopefully the next time he sees me, I'm even thinner, and maybe he'll start asking. Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. He's in shape, so it doesn't really. Yeah, it was really cool. Um, it was also great to kind of be able to go to my old school with a large event where there was a chance that I was going to see people I know, just because uh, we used to be involved with the school, and then I also have siblings that are very involved with the high school. So um, it was nice to be able to go into the school with my head up and not feeling like I was going to be uh, ashamed of seeing anybody. Also, it's been a long time since I've sat in bleachers at a high school, but the bleachers at our old high school are awful. And we had to sit there for about 2 hours through the whole event. And it wasn't just being overweight that made it awful. Everybody around us was talking about how uncomfortable it was. Next time we go to something like that, we're going to have to make sure that we get there early enough that we get down on the floor where the chairs have a back on them, because it was pretty rough being on those bleachers. It was interesting though, being on those bleachers, it really brought back a ton of old memories. If you'd ever wrestled in the past, or maybe even like other high school sporting events, but with wrestling in particular, we used to go to different schools around the area and do different tournaments on the weekends. So you'd spend all day on a Sunday at a wrestling tournament as a kid, or when you're in high school on Saturday, you'd spend all day at a wrestling tournament. And so you spend a lot of time in bleachers. And so I've slept in between the rows of bleachers before, on the bleachers. I've spent a lot of time, playing euchre on bleachers, or just hanging out, and then I've also spent a lot of time working out and doing runs up and down bleachers for working out. So it was interesting going and having all those kind of memories being sparked from high school. So, but food wise yesterday, uh, kept it really simple. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. Um, because I got on the scale yesterday in the morning and my weight was up. I kind of knew it was going to be up. I mean, we've had 2 weekends in a row essentially where we were traveling the weekend before, and then last weekend was my daughter's birthday, and then of course this weekend coming up is Valentine's Day. So we're trying to find a way to celebrate Valentine's Day without food issues, and I think we'll do okay. But the there just always seems to be an excuse, to celebrate with food. And so, um, but the food from yesterday, I went home. I in my head, I was like, I'm just gonna fast and I'm gonna lose as much weight as possible. And then I got home and I was like, I'm just gonna go back to my roots as far as what I'd been eating on this diet when I was my most successful, and just had simple foods last night. I had shredded wheat with unsweetened soy milk and raisins, and then I had Ezekiel bread with a nut butter that's just peanuts. Um, I like those things. They're simple. They're very kind of mono diety, or kind of, single item things um, that are going to help kind of push the stuff through my system too. The junk food that I eat, I think it's going to help push things through. And I didn't want to go from Monday to Wednesday without eating. I think that I'll do okay on the scale this week. I don't know that I'm gonna have a loss this week, but just knowing where I'm at is nice, you know. And then really outside of the food, I did no snacking last night, and being busy made that a little bit easier. The fact that we had the running around we had to do in the evening, and I wasn't at the house, made it easier to not snack or to avoid those things. And then also, like I said, getting on the scale and knowing where I was at kind of helped me be like, okay, I've had calories, I've eaten, I don't having a snack isn't necessary, and it wasn't very difficult. And I do kind of, if I do get hungry, I may have some juice, like apple juice or cherry juice, but I did not have a lot of that last night, even. Uh, then this morning, it was back to our regular scheduled programming of oatmeal. Uh, Funny enough, Carrie ended up making the oatmeal this morning and not putting everything in when she cooked it. And then we ended up adding the cinnamon and I don't know, like the chia seeds or something after she cooked it. And I almost liked it more this way. I don't know what it was about the way she cooked it this way that it was just not as dry, I guess. The almond butter we put in it was very dry, and that's a whole different kind of thing that we kind of talk about with buying these natural butters. It's just they settle. And so you have to spend some time with a spoon or something in there, stirring it up and getting it mixed as best you can. And you really have to do it from the start. Like the first time you open it up, you have to spend some time to actually mix that butter up. That way it you don't end up with big clumps of dry almond butter you're finishing up. Carrie says she has to bail early because of the kids' voice lessons. Breakfast for dinner tonight if I'm eating. I don't know if that means waffles because she's been loving these waffles that she's been making, or if uh, if she's talking about doing oatmeal again for dinner. I'm not sure, but I think I am going to be fasting through the evening tonight. I'm not real hungry right now, and I'm going to be juice fasting. I guess I don't actually juice anything. I just buy Simply Orange or Simply Apple juices, and then we have a cherry juice that we get from Walmart that I really like. The tart cherry juice, uh, probably the one thing I have almost every day, and we stocked up on it because they had some sort of deal on it, or Carrie was able to get a deal on it. So um, I have plenty of cherry juice. So that'll be my diet for the evening. Will be cherry juice. Um, that is really it for food. Like I said, I'm gonna fast tonight. I might fast tomorrow, just depending on. It's easy to fast in the morning. I feel like I just don't eat, but you know, I don't have a lot of food around me at work, so it's easy when you don't have food around you to resist eating. Um, let's see. I'm continuing to listen to Salt, Sugar, Fat by Michael Moss. Absolutely love the book. I would highly recommend listening to the book to anybody that is interested in maybe knowing a little bit more about um, the history of you know, food. I mean, there's a lot of interesting conversations that he talks about. Latchkey generations just saying, letting me know that you're here for me. That's awesome. Thank you, Latchkey. I really appreciate all the support that I get from everybody. It really also helps keep me motivated to stay on track. It you know, it's nice. I really appreciate it. Um the The book, I'm about an hour from finishing it, so I'm gonna probably have it done. I might even have it finished by tomorrow. And just overall, it really has made me think about a lot of things on, especially with salt. For whatever reason, I'm um, really uh, hooked on a lot of what he's talking about with salt, or just kind of how prevalent it is in our life and how Yeah, just weird. And he does a good job talking about a lot of the things that go on. Even salt is dirt cheap. It's like 10 cents a pound from the manufacturer, and they're buying it by the truckload. So, um, he even talks about in some manufacturing process, Lay's chips, or some guy executive he was talking about that they were going through the manufacturing process trying to find ways that they could improve things. And when he saw how they were salting the chips, he couldn't believe that they were just like literally doing a conveyor belt and having salt just poured on top of the chips, and then anything that didn't land on chips would fall to the ground and they would just throw it away. And they had developed technology that they wouldn't have that waste, but the cost to implement that technology was far greater than the cost of the wasted salt they had, or maybe they repurposed the salt for some other, reason, but they it's not anything that we have it in such abundance that it's not anything anybody's fighting over anymore. We used to fight wars over it, but now we don't. It's everywhere. So, anyways, uh, I like the book Salt, Sugar, Fat by Michael Moss. I would recommend anybody that's interested in learning about the history of craft and the history of um, General Foods and the influence that Philip Morris has had on our food supply for the last 30 years, or they did have for a long time. I think they sold some of that off. I would recommend reading that book. And then, so I had, so the name of the stream here was Don't Sweat the Small Things. And it's kind of, being that I've been on this plateau for a long time and it's frustrating, but uh it's also just having to realize how much of a different place I'm in now, And so I just wanted to say that you shouldn't just don't stress the small things. This is going to be uh, a big process, like this whole process is going to be stressful. And if you want to have good results, you're going to have to make big changes. You're going to have to change the way you cook, the way you eat, the way you think about food, the timing of your meals, the volume of the food that you eat, the type of the food that you put in your mouth. You have to be willing to let all of those things and more things that you never imagined were going to have to change when you started this. You're going to have to allow all of those things to change. And one of the big reasons why it's so difficult is because a lot of these things you have to change is giving up convenience. There's so many things in our lives that make it easier for us to eat or make it easier for us to have access to food. And it you have to be willing to understand that you're giving up that convenience and it's going to make things more difficult. And you can't make it more difficult by dwelling on the little things, you know. And some days are going to be tougher than others. And you're going to have periods of time where your weight doesn't do what you want it to do. The clothes aren't fitting like you hoped. You're lacking the motivation that you had when you started. You have to let those moments pass and let them go. Today's a new day, or even right now is a new moment. Like you don't have to wait for a new day. You can start this instant. But the goal here is to get your weight to trend down. You're not gonna have a steep cliff all the way to your goal. You might be able to start off with a good amount of weight to begin with, but the process is going to be much longer than you hoped. It's going to be longer than you hoped. If it wasn't longer than everybody hoped, then everybody would be skinny, but it's going to be longer. And gaining the weight wasn't a straight up line for most of us, like me. I'm sure a lot of you guys yo-yo dieted, you felt like you had it under control and then you gained it back and then more and you yo-yoed all the way to your highest point, and you already spent a huge amount of time stressing. The whole time you were gaining weight, you were stressing. For the last 30 years, I've been stressed about being overweight. What are people going to think of me the first time they meet me? There's no way this girl's going to even talk to me if I ask her on a date. There's no way I'll get this job. Uh, what are people going to see? What are they going to think if they see me now versus when they saw me 20 years ago? Like, you have to let those things go, because this is about trending it down. It's going to take time. You're going to have dips where you go quick and then it's going to flatten out and it's going to go up, but it's about the long term. It's about the the 3 years. I challenged myself to doing this for 3 years. So having a weekend where I slip up, or having a day where I don't feel motivated, I have to realize that it's just that moment and it's just that day. And I have to focus on the bigger picture, and, not just 3 years, but really the rest of my life. But so just don't stress about the little things. Focus on the things that are going right. Take those non-scale victories and hold on to them as long as you can. And just keep at it, guys. That's what I wanted to say about don't sweating the small stuff. Um, don't have much else to talk about. I am going to be doing something. I got to get my fridge organized a little bit. I'm working with a few other channels of YouTube channels where people are plant-based, and we're doing kind of a what's in your fridge kind of video. So I'm going to try to put something together for that in the next couple days. And then there'll be a few other kind of people that do videos that you guys, should definitely go check out and support what they're doing. And I'll have links to those when I post that video. And then you guys get to see all the crazy stuff we have in our fridge, which is completely different than it was 2 years ago. Just wild. I mean, I bet there's less than 3 things in that fridge now that would have been there 2 years ago. And 2 of those things are probably celery and carrots. So, anyways, I'm looking forward to getting that video out. So keep an eye out for that in the next few days. Tomorrow will be weigh-in Wednesday. I will probably be weighing in with a sad face, but like I said, don't stress the small things. It's about the big picture. I am going in the right direction. I am 99% on diet, and it's crazy how that 1% just knocks me over, huh? So, anyways, I'm going to get out of here today, guys. I do appreciate you checking out my broadcast. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, get subscribed to the channel. Click on that bell icon so you get alerted when I go live. Check out our Discord and the Pinterest. Both of those are down in the description below. If you guys haven't started your diet yet, get started right now. There's no reason to wait. Valentine's Day is coming up, and you're just thinking, well, we could just go out to eat for Valentine's Day, and then I'll start my diet. Well, get started now and figure out how to have Valentine's Day eating this new way, so that next year on Valentine's Day, you can do it better than you did this year. Get started right now with your diet, guys. There's no reason to wait. Your health is far too important to let it keep going. I mean, what if you're 2 days away from a heart attack? Start today, maybe push that a little bit further. Well, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I can't, don't know how everything works, but get started now and go all in. Don't believe the myth of moderation. You're not going to eat less food. It hasn't worked for millions of people over years. I tried it. I've tried to eat less food lots of times. It works for a while, but it doesn't work for a long time. Gotta find foods that are lower calorie density than the ones that you're enjoying now. It's plain and simple. Eat higher volume, lower calorie dense foods. Gonna go to bed with full belly and a smile on your face. and get on the scale. You're going to see huge improvement. So don't believe the myth of moderate eating. Don't believe the myth of moderate change. You're not going to all of a sudden decide that you like spinach if you are eating it with fried chicken. Got to get rid of the high calorie foods. You got to get rid of the processed foods. Go back to scratch cooking. I know it's not what anybody wants to do, but you have to start making your food for yourself. Get started right now, guys. Go all in. See you tomorrow. Have a good night.